Hello and good afternoon. Thank you for joining me today. For years, online pornography platforms in Canada have published sexually explicit material without any requirements to verify age or consent of those depicted in them. As a result, egregious videos of sex trafficking, child exploitation, and sexual assault have proliferated Canadian pornography websites. Many of these videos have been monetized, bringing massive profits. And once a video of exploitation has been uploaded, it's virtually impossible to eliminate. It starts the endless nightmare for victims who have to fight, and in some cases pretend to be lawyers, just to get the company to take down their video, only to have it re-uploaded within minutes or hours by random users. Countless survivors have also been forced to relive their trauma and track down their own abusers in order to have content depicting them taken down. This is not news, at least it shouldn't be. Many survivors and organizations have long spoken out about this. However, it was the New York Times journalist Nicholas Kristof in his article on December 4th that really brought attention to this. The article is called "The Children of Pornhub." It got the attention of the global community. We must do more to prevent these videos from ever reaching the internet in the first place. As Nicholas Kristof stated, why does Canada allow this company to profit off videos of exploitation and assault? It's time to place the burden of due diligence and corporate responsibility on the companies rather than the survivors and the police. That is why today I am introducing, or have introduced, the Stop Internet Sexual Exploitation Act in the House of Commons, or the CEAS Act as I call it. The CEAS Act adds 2 offenses to the criminal code. 1, the making of pornographic material for a commercial purpose without verifying age or consent, and 2, the distributing of pornographic material for commercial purpose without verifying age or consent, or in cases where consent has been withdrawn. Those who fail to verify age and consent would face escalating penalties, mirroring those in the mandatory child pornography reporting laws. The CEAS Act would also provide aggravating factors for material that actually depicted minors or those whose content was up without their consent, and if the material contained obscenity or hatred towards an identifiable group. In Canada, consent matters, and if a company is going to profit from making or publishing pornographic material, the CEAS Act requires them to verify the age and consent of every individual depicted in every video. This is a serious issue, and there's much that needs to be done. Other countries, like Australia, have created complaint mechanisms for victims to report content. Victims and survivors of online exploitation in Canada have little recourse to those who profit from their ongoing sexual exploitation. They need tools and resources to hold companies accountable and to be able to sue for damages. These types of measures cannot be accomplished by a private member's bill. It would require investment from both provincial and federal governments, and I would strongly support these efforts to put these measures in place. So today, I'm doing what I can to propose the CEAS Act, and I'm honored to be joined by a number of organizations that work with survivors of exploitation in Canada every day and globally. Defend Dignity, the London Abused Women's Centre, the Salvation Army, the Justice Defence Fund, and the National Centre on Sexual Exploitation. They would all like to share their experience in combating online exploitation. We'll start with Glendine Gerard, the Director of Defend Dignity. Glendine?
Thank you, Arnold. Defend Dignity supports the Stopping Internet Sexual Exploitation Act. As an organization supporting victims of sexual exploitation, we are very aware of the complicity of websites and platforms in these crimes. Victims tell us emphatically that hosting websites do not ensure that they've been given consent and their images have been uploaded by pimps, traffickers, sex buyers, or those seeking revenge. The stories of victims must be heeded by lawmakers. Depictions of rape, intimate images shared without consent, and child sexual abuse material are often viewed by thousands of times. They're downloaded, they're re-uploaded, so it becomes nearly impossible for these images to be removed from the internet. This kind of trauma causes deeply felt shame and harm, as a person's victimization is forever viewable on the internet. It must not be the victims who are responsible for having these images removed. It is time that companies such as Pornhub and Xvideos be held responsible for these criminal activities. It is clear that pornography sites cannot be trusted to self-regulate. And in just the last 6 months, witnesses at the Ethics Committee and in the investigative reporting of New York Times' Nicholas Kristof have outlined how Pornhub shared images without consent. The victims that Defend Dignity supports have similar stories. This act seeks to prevent this illegal material from being uploaded in the first place. It would also give individuals featured in pornography more control over their images and provide added protection against coercion. We encourage all parties to support and pass this bill.
We'll now go to Megan Walker, the Executive Director of the London Abused Women's Centre.
Good afternoon. I'm really happy to be with you today. The London Abused Women's Centre provides abused, trafficked, prostituted, and sexually exploited women and girls over the age of 12 with immediate access to service. Last year, 143 women and girls reported to us that technology was used in their sexual assault. Another 64 women and girls reported pornography was prevalent in their relationships. They were oftentimes forced to play out the torture and fetish scenes with their partners. One woman exploited by Pornhub wrote, "It was soul destroying to find videos of me on Pornhub. Discovering how readily available they were broke me. Being hit with the reality that anyone could see the darkest points of my life nearly killed me. I had to stop looking for more videos after I found 4. I was suicidal and have deep-seated shame about those videos, even though I was a child. It causes a fear I can't put words to. There should always be a presumed assumption that every person portrayed in pornography material is underage and does not consent. No woman or girl should ever fall to the darkest points in their lives with suicidal ideations because they discover their rape and torture has been posted to a porn site. We support Arnold Viersen and his bill, legislating the verification of age and consent of every person portrayed in pornography, as it is an important and necessary step. It will save the lives of women and girls.
Now we'll go to Major Ray Lamont of the Salvation Army.
Thank you. The Salvation Army, as an international organization and nationally in Canada, is deeply committed to working with and supporting trafficked and exploited people. In Canada specifically, we have a long history of working closely with individuals who have experienced and survived sexual exploitation. And because of this long history and the work that we continue to engage in on a daily basis, we recognize that their voices and their wishes are rarely heard or respected. As an organization, we feel that the Stopping Internet Sexual Exploitation Act is an important first step towards establishing safeguards to protect adults and minors from having unwanted images of them posted and shared over the internet for the commercial gain at their expense. We support this bill, and we see it as being a starting point to engage in further conversation and to identify additional measures to protect those who have experienced and survived sexual exploitation. We support MP Viersen and his efforts to see this bill passed.
Now we'll turn to Layla Mekowick from the Justice Defense Fund. Have we lost Layla?
Thank you. Yes, I'm here. Thank you. Yes, thank you, Mr. Viersen, for your leadership in combating sex trafficking and all forms of sexual exploitation over the years. I and myself representing as a founder of the Trafficking Hub movement, I represent 2 million people from 192 countries, as well as over 300 organizations, as well as the Justice Defense Fund. And we are in full support of the Stop Internet Sexual Exploitation Act. Age and consent verification for all individuals in pornographic content is a common sense, long overdue, and urgently needed regulation to rein in the mass sexual exploitation of the online distribution of sexual crime scenes, such as sex trafficking, child sexual abuse material, assault, and other forms of image-based sexual abuse. Victims call the uploading, monetization, and the global distribution that happens as a result the immortalization of their trauma. The onus of responsibility for keeping non-consensual material, sex trafficking, assault, and child sexual abuse should not be on victims. It should be on the companies, the mega corporations that are making hundreds of millions of dollars per year off of that content. Meaningful age and consent verification, as mandated by this important bill, will be an enormous step to actually stop internet sexual exploitation. Thank you.
And finally, we'll turn to Danny Pinter, Senior Legal Counsel with the National Center on Sexual Exploitation. Danny.
Good afternoon. I'm Danny Pinter with the National Center on Sexual Exploitation Law Center, the leading U.S. nonpartisan organization exposing the links between all forms of sexual exploitation, such as child sexual abuse, prostitution, sex trafficking, and the public health harms of pornography. We represent minor survivors who have been horrifically exploited and their trauma magnified because their abuse was recorded and uploaded to online pornography websites, Pornhub, and Xvideos. Now we represent these minors in 2 class action lawsuits on behalf of all minors exploited on these websites. Such class action lawsuits are now necessary because there is currently no meaningful age or consent verification in the online pornography industry. Pornhub, Xvideos, Xhamster, and other online pornography sites have profited for far too long without even ensuring that the content they are monetizing does not depict rape, sex trafficking, or child sexual abuse. As a direct result, many survivors have suffered, and their abuses have been captured for perpetuity. It is past time for the pornography industry to be held accountable. Online pornographies cannot continue to profit from exploitation. The CEASE Act, introduced by MP Arnold Viersen, is an important step towards ensuring that the pornography industry does not continue to prey on the vulnerable, and we strongly support this effort. Thank you.
Thank you. And I want to thank all of the organizations for their participation today in support of the CEASE Act and the incredible work that they do to serve victims around the world. I would now welcome any questions from the media.